Sometimes things come in threes, and that's very much the case of today. I've got 3 bits of content I'm going to speak about, but they all lead into the same topic. And that topic being David Moyes' scouting at West Ham United, how he wants to go about the recruitment at the Hammers, at Rush Green. I've got something that came out today, something that came out yesterday, and something that came out in 2013, 8 years ago. But I'll tell you what, that old piece is what interests me the most. I'm going to get into it, but I'm actually going to summarise my video right now. You normally do at the end of stuff, don't you? But I'm going to give you my summary now, because I think it's worth bearing in mind with what I speak about. And that is that David Moyes doesn't just want to buy footballers, he wants to buy a man. He judges you not with what you do on the pitch, but also what you do off the pitch. I think sometimes he's maybe willing to sacrifice a little bit of ability in order to get the right player in, the right attitude, the right person, the one that's going to fit him with what he's trying to do on the pitch as well as off it. And it's not a bad thing. So today, what came out in the Daily Mail is an interview with David Moyes where he speaks a little bit about, not getting kept on at West Ham, coming back. He says all the right things and stuff. About how Pellegrini got a load of money, and he basically said he understood why the club done it and they tried something different, but that's not how he likes to do things. He doesn't think you should try and throw a load of money at it and almost cheat the system a little bit. He would rather grow organically, bit by bit. You build the foundations, then the first floor, so on and so forth. But in there, what I liked best was what was called the character test, the David Moyes character test. And it's not the first time I'm going to allude to something like this. When I go back to that 2013 article, there's a theme here. And in it basically said the football agents can no longer bring players to West Ham without passing the David Moyes character test. I love that. Too often, West Ham have had their pants pulled down by certain agents that David Sullivan prefers to work with. We get players in because of who their agent is, not because of who they are, not because of what they are. And that's the bad thing. That's the bad way of going about it. So before, a phone call may have gone along the lines of, "Hi Mr. Sullivan, I hear you after centre back. I've got one here for you. How would you like him?" And then David Sullivan would look at that. But now it's a case of when that phone call happens, the first question is, does he pass the David Moyes character test? If not, we ain't taking him at West Ham United. I like this. I really, really like this. It goes on to speak about how he did things at Everton, and he mentioned about how David Moyes himself went to scout Julian Leyscott 20 times. Now in the past, I've had my concerns with how David Moyes does his scouting. Dithering Dave, he got called at Everton, within good reason I think. I do think he is sometimes a bit slow. Here we are, 2-3 days with the window to go, and we still haven't got that striker. We haven't, to some extent, we've not even identified the striker. We probably have, but with the leaks going on at West Ham, we know how this thing happens, and it seems at the minute there's not going to be one. I don't think it's good enough, but the article from 2013 has given me a little bit of faith. We'll get into that. Yeah, we'll do that last. We'll do the next thing, which was Jesse Lingard. Jesse Lingard signing for West Ham. Now, it's not so much the player, what he's going to bring to West Ham. I watched his interview this morning, and it ties into what David Moyes is trying to do. I liked it. I know he's sort of PR trained. I know Jesse Lingard is PR trained. He's got his own clothing brand. He's a big social media presence. He still plays football for the biggest football club in the world, in my opinion. So if there's any football club out there that's going to PR train those players, it's Manchester United. So I'm aware of that. But you can still watch that. And I felt he come across very well, as you'd expect. But I felt he come across honestly. And there's one or two things he said in there which sort of I liked. He basically said about how he's speaking about he's coming for regular football. He knows some of the boys already, and that he believes there's like good morale off the pitch and there's some good characters that you can have banter with, and you think that's important, and so on and so forth. But in it, he spoke about hard work and how he wasn't guaranteed a starting spot and he was going to have to come in and graft to get into the team. And I like that. Bearing in mind, David Moyes said the same thing to Tomori at Chelsea. And Tomori said, "Well, you're alright then, mate. I'm not going to come." Whereas Jesse Lingard thought, "I'm up for that. I'm up for a battle." But what I liked the best was, well, you spoke about, you said all the right things about West Ham moving in the right direction, so on and so forth. But there's something in it, he sort of said as like a throwaway comment, which was, "I've always had to work harder than other players." I felt a bit sorry for him, to be honest with you. But when you look at him at Manchester United, he's been competing with the likes of Wayne Rooney sometimes to get into the team. So I guess what he's alluding to there is, players have been better than me. There have been better players than me at Manchester United. Therefore, I've probably had to give an extra 10% in order to get into the team. And that's the type of mentality that we've got currently at the squad, and that we love, and that you would associate with David Moyes. So there he was ticking all the boxes, Jesse Lingard. But then last night, I woke up this morning and see it, but last night Stephen James on Twitter sent me an article. about David Moyes in 2013 when he was at Everton, and it was all to do with his scouting and his recruitment. It's a fantastic read. It's very long, but it's a fantastic read. I'm going to leave the link to this in the description below and on the pinned comments. Go read it yourself. Listen to what I've got to say first, please. Don't go anywhere, but go read this yourself. It's a fascinating read, and it's given me a little bit of confidence, a bit more belief in what David Moyes is trying to do in terms of recruitment. Basically, someone from the Independent went into Everton, Finch Park, is that it? Finch Park. He went to Finch Park and he had a little look around. He was basically said, like, went to this place where it says no unauthorised personnel, blah blah, and there was 4 rooms, and he went in the room which was, you know, called the recruitment room, and it had 4 whiteboards set up, and it was just covered with paper. And David Moyes wasn't there at the time. He was actually away scouting someone in European football. So he spoke to Steve Brown. Now, Steve Brown was someone that when Moyes took over was already there, but Moyes promoted him to sort of oversee the first team recruitment and stuff. And that's when they started using analytics. And Steve Brown alluded to that David Moyes was, to his knowledge, the only manager outside the Premier League in England at this time to use analytics and performance and numbers and stuff to recruit players when he was at Preston. So he said, you know, David Moyes was trying to do that in the Premier League. He was brought in to sort of overhaul it because he wasn't a scout at the time, Steve Brown. He was someone that had been to university, and it was all to do with numbers and stuff, and that's why he was there. And it just goes on about what David Moyes has set up. I can't remember all off the top of my head. I should have wrote down more notes. But it said on whiteboard 1, they had 1,000 players. They had the name of 1,000 players on this whiteboard. And it was all players 26 or under across the world, and it was broken into categories. You had the European football, the South American football, so on and so forth. They were everything was done in colour code stuff. So they were a free agent, they were done in one colour. They were coming to the end of their contract, they were done in another colour. If there was a fee involved, they were done in another colour. They were monitoring these 1,000 players at all times, all under the ages of 26. The next board, they had what they called active targets, people they were scouting a little bit more. And in it they spoke about if you were a primary target of Everton, David Moyes wanted 50 reports. Between 10 and 12 scouts would go and watch these players. He wanted up to 50 reports on every single player in order to pursue them, essentially. And it went on and on. Then the last board, they had another one of his other boards with Premier League players only. You had to be under the age of 26, and you weren't allowed to be playing for a Sky Sports top 6 team either. So David Moyes was very much monitoring who he could go get from Premier League. There was another board which was the domestic leagues, non-Premier League teams. So ended in Championship, League 1, League 2, he was monitoring them. Once again, same criteria, so on and so forth. There was 12, and David Moyes had 12 criteria essentially. When his scouts would go and watch these players, depending on what position they were, there was like 12 criteria things they had to almost hit before Everton to continue scouting, to look to get them into the football club. And the last board was all about the number 1 targets, who they were going after in the next transfer window. It was there. And in this room, obviously, the recruitment room, it was restricted to who goes in because David Moyes has obviously got his plans. And it spoke about how he even had his first team in there. And even they were done in colour codes as to who he thinks was going to be there next season, who they were going to have to phase out in the starting 11 eventually, who currently isn't in the starting 11, but David Moyes thinks will get into the starting 11. And it's giving me, I feel good reading it. I feel really, really good reading it. But what I liked about it, it referred to what they call the David Moyes MOT test. Now this goes back to what the Daily Mail has just called the David Moyes character test. It's the same thing, essentially. And I like it. I like it a lot. And I feel good reading the articles. A massive thank you to Stephen James for sending it in, because like I said, it's from 2013. I'll put the links in the description below, so go have a read. Especially if you are what I would call a skeptic of the way David Moyes goes around scouting players and stuff. I've always referred to him as Dithering Dave as well, and I do still think he is a bit too slow. I mean, 50 reports per player is a bit excessive, especially in this climate. Now, it's going to be different now. He's not going to be sticking to the same thing because of COVID and stuff, so he can't go watch these players. But it gives you a little insight. It gives you a little look into what David Moyes is trying to do here at West Ham United, setting up this analytical department, scouting by numbers essentially, and it's something I'm a big fan of. I like my stats myself, as a lot of people know, but there's been successes at West Ham. Dimitri Payet was primarily signed off the back of statistics. And you have to assume that Thomas Souček was probably alerted to the club through statistics as well. I like it a lot. Go read it. Go read the article. I feel good reading that. Viva David Moyes and all that stuff, right? Anyway, in all seriousness though, delighted with the signing of Jesse Lingard, delighted with what he's saying. It fits with what David Moyes is trying to do in terms of the attitude and the work rate and the work ethic, because that's a massive part of why we're so successful so far this season. And I'm enjoying it. And if he can sort of install what he's doing at Everton with that good success rate in the transfer market a little bit quicker, Dave, I'll be even more excited. Anyway, there you go. There's your video for Saturday. I'm going to disappear now. And Gonzo's live at 3 o'clock on the forum channel. Links in the description if you haven't already subscribed. Make sure you have. We are live tomorrow, Sunday at 3:25 on this channel. So subscribe if you're new to the channel. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And check out the article below. I put the article to the Daily Mail as well, the recent one if you haven't already seen it. Check them out. Leave your comments. I've been reading comments more and more recently. So get involved with the channel and I'll get involved with you. Not like that. Well, no, I'm joking. I was fine. I'll catch you in a bit. See you soon.